But joining us now, former 2016 Republican presidential candidate, former Arkansas Governor Mike Huckabee, and former White House Press Secretary Fleischer. Guys, good to see you both. Governor,
thank you very much.
What does it, well, Marco Rubio won tonight, and I was very glad to see that. I think we need him back in the Senate. There are still some conservatives angry over comprehensive immigration reform. Governor, my take is he paid a very heavy political price in this 2016 primary on that issue. And he said he made a mistake. He apologized numerous times on this show. I think it's time for people to move on. We need him in the Senate.
Absolutely. And Marco Rubio is one of the most gifted, up-and-coming Republican stars that we've got. He's sharp. He's articulate. The fact that he, in his first term in the Senate, really tried to do something. You may not agree with what he did, but he went there because he was used to governing and seeing things done. And we absolutely ought to respect the fact that he apologized. He said, look, it wasn't the best thing to do. Let's not waste an extraordinary talent like Marco Rubio.
Yeah, your thoughts? I think Marco's still a rising star. I did think he made a mistake because he even said it wasn't the bill he wanted.
Look, I remember when Marco Rubio was one of the first of the Tea Party wave. Remember, he ran in a Republican primary against the person the Washington establishment was for. Yeah. Defeated him and went on and set the template for a real up-and-coming star.
But isn't it amazing how immigration now is at the forefront? You know, elections are always about peace and prosperity. Immigration, refugees, national security, protecting the homeland, very important.
Remember, Sean, I come out of the George W. Bush wing when it comes to immigration. I am for a comprehensive solution. I am for immigration reform, and I'm willing to compromise. I admired Marco Rubio for being one of the members of the Senate who did that. It turned out to be pretty perilous for him in the Republican primary, and this remains something that is going to be vexing for Republicans. Unless and until Republicans get their arms around immigration and come out with a policy that actually works for Hispanics as well as American citizens, Hispanic immigrants, Republicans are never going to win.
Here's the problem. Republicans, they want to appease, big labor. They want cheap labor. Well, wait a minute, hang on. The Democrats are looking at immigrants. I don't care if they're from Syria. I don't care if they're from Mexico or Central America. They think this is a new voting base for them. They're playing long ball.
I totally agree with that.
So Trump is going to say tomorrow, build the wall, get rid of sanctuary cities, send away criminal aliens. He's going to talk about no more anchor babies, so-called citizenship, if you're just born here. And I think that's more in tune with where the American electorate is.
Well, enforcement first definitely is in tune. But let's get to the core of the issue that's tripped up Donald Trump recently, and that's what do you do with the 11 million in here? One of the biggest mistakes the conservative movement has made is this pejorative label where they say anybody who's for anything that's a solution on a complicated issue is for amnesty. And amnesty is now like saying you've got cooties. And there's something wrong with you.
All right, we have to get beyond your age with the cooties comment.
Well, I burned that age.
Yeah, that's me and me both.
But that's the problem. As soon as you simplify something complex down to one word, and if you're for amnesty, I'm never going to be for you, you're a bad Republican, we're never going to deal with this issue.
Listen, I think we need the discussion, but here's the problem. When you have so many people that want to come into this country, and other people don't respect our laws and sovereignty, and they get to stay, basically, we have rewarded law-breaking, have we not?
And it's not a game of tag. It's not as if you come home free. If you touch the United States, now you're safe. But that's why you need compromise legislation to figure out what to do with the 11 million. If Donald Trump tomorrow doesn't say deport them,
if I could jump in a minute.
I want to hear Mike. Governor Huckabee, what do you want to...
Yeah, Ari, let me jump in a minute, because I think sometimes a lot of the Republican establishment folks are missing the point. Americans aren't against immigration.
Right.
But what they want to make sure that their jobs actually pay them something. They've seen stagnant wages for 40 years. They've seen people come in, burn the American flag, and wave the flag of another country, flaunt in our faces the fact that we have allowed people to come in. My experience is the immigrants who come here because they love America and want to be Americans, we open our arms, we welcome them. But the people who come and they have disregard for the laws, they feel like that we owe them something, and rather than wanting to assimilate into America, they want America to assimilate to them. That's a problem, I think that when we address it that way, it's okay.
But there's nothing you said I disagree with. Every one of those words is true, but we still have a solution that remains to be found for the 11 million that are here. And this is where we in the base are hurting ourselves when we just say, amnesty, amnesty, you're for amnesty. No, we need a solution, and that invariably means compromise.
We now have 95 million Americans out of the labor force, the lowest labor participation rate since the 70s, the lowest home ownership rate in 51 years. We have 12 million more Americans on food stamps since Obama's been president, 8 million more in poverty. So for two reasons, the border's got to be secure. National security, first and foremost. I think you need the wall. Secondly, disproportionately, black Americans have paid the price for the 11 million illegal immigrants, 95 million Americans out of the labor force. They are competing for those jobs. You've had a 58% increase, black Americans on food stamps, and a 20% increase in Obama's presidency of black Americans out of the labor force. So you have fewer people competing for more people competing for fewer jobs, driving down wages. It's hurting American citizens.
Agreed.
So you say keep them.
I didn't say keep them. I said
you're going to send them back?
A legislative compromise. Many are going to need to be sent back. Many are going to need to be allowed to stay. And that's why you need legislation. Absent that, you have 11 million people that you don't know what you're going to do.
It's almost distressed, but I wasn't talking about Obama.
It was listening to your words and knew what to do.
Yeah, but
that's why compromise and enacting legislation is so important. But if all you do is say amnesty, amnesty, what you're saying is either deport the 11 million, which now Donald Trump is walking away from, or you're saying we never want a legislative solution.
Mike Huckabee, what is the answer? Ari does bring up some good points. What is the comprehensive solution, if there is one? I don't believe we'll ever get to that.
Well, I think what we're missing is that a lot of Americans would have a very different attitude, but not until they see the border secure. They don't trust the federal government, and why should they? The federal government has been saying we're going to secure the border, and they haven't done it. The real problem with immigration is not the fact that people want to come to America. I salute them for wanting to come here. My gosh, if I lived anywhere, I'd want to come too. I fault the federal government for absolutely failing to do the one job the government has, and that's secure the border,
let me ask you both this, because I got to run, because we have Trump coming up. If we secure the border first and have this debate second, would you be okay with that?
Yes, I would. But you're both not getting around to the fact of what do you do with the 11 million. You're both ignoring that point.
If your boat's taken on water, what do you do?
Well, I am for enforcement first. But I don't want it to be excused to never do anything with the 11 million and let them live in the shadows
Americans
forever.
are always told we're going to have tax increases and spending cuts. You always get the tax increase up front. You never get the spending cuts. You always get the amnesty. You never get the wall built.
Well, but you can talk about both. You can have a sequence to legislation where it's enforcement first, and then after a year or 6 months, a trigger, then you have something that takes care of the 11.
It's a good conversation. Thank you both.